Welcome to National Discourse.
Current affairs.
We must not extricate anybody from corruption. If any one of them is found wanting, the due course and the law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different from the last one in the fight against corruption.
We need to really task our leaders, who are the religious leaders, from the emir, from the bishops, from whoever they can.
Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in Hausa yang nakama. They are like agberu in the markets. Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
What happened in Benue might be political. It still has another tone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history.
It's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria. Okay. And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When the Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background. And today we are here in TSTV. And that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse. Weekdays on NCTV.
Good morning and welcome to National Discourse Nigeria. And of course today we are looking at evaluating the past administrations because it seems we are still dealing with the blame game. Now on Tuesday we saw our president throwing some kind of shade when it has to be in the entertainment industry, talking about the $16 billion power misappropriation, that power money, the money that was made for power by the ex-president. Now all of that, is it because there are letters written by Obasanjo, or is it because there's a coalition, movement being formed by Obasanjo? All of that is what we're going to look at. Or is it just a plain blame trying to sanitize the country further? We are talking about the fight against corruption. Now we're going to look at that. Now our number will be hitting the screen very soon. We expect you to pick up your phone. You call us, give us your infield or your question. It will be greatly needed, in this program. Now we'll go for a short break, and when we come back, we'll go straight into the people we'll have that will talk about this topic and deal decisively with it. I still remain your host, Uche Uduma.
Welcome to National Discourse.
Current affairs.
We must not extricate anybody from corruption. If any one of them is found wanting, the due course and the law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different from the last one in the fight against corruption.
We need to really task our leaders, who are the religious leaders, from the emir, from the bishops, from whoever they can.
Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in Hausa yang nakama. They are like agberu in the markets. Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
What happened in Benue might be political. It still has another tone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history.
It's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria.
Okay.
And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When the Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background. And today we are here in TSTV. And that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse. Weekdays on NCTV.
Alright, so welcome back from that short break. I have two wonderful guests with me in the studio to do justice to this topic. I have Mr. Harry Lodom, of course, we all know he's a regular analyst, political analyst on this program. Then I have a beautiful lady here who would help to do justice too. I would like her to introduce herself. At least this is the first time you are coming to my program.
Okay, it's good to be here. My name is Toby Fabawo. I am a member of Project One Productions. It's an organization, social organization that educates young people on political education and try to instill right values.
All right, now straight on. Now, one of the former heads of state was bragging that he spent more than 16 billion naira, $16 billion, I beg your pardon, on power. Where is the power? We'll soon play the video, but let's start the discussion first. Now, this is our President Buhari talking.
I want to first of all
Where is
say
the power?
It is very, very unfortunate that every leader in Nigeria finds a way to blame past administrations for everything. When are we going to have leaders who take responsibility for the present, for what is going on right now, since they took office, and the policies, the plans they had while they were campaigning, when they conceived the idea of taking power? They should have known that there's a problem. They should have known that money was wasted. They should have known that this is the state of the economy. They should have done their homework to know that, okay, they are coming to correct this, all, and not spend 1 year, 2 years, 3 years blaming past administrations for everything. So I'm at this point, I'm really disappointed that we're still hearing issues of trying to blame past administrations. You people said you can fix power in 1 year. This means that you have done your research, you've done your environmental scanning, you know exactly what it takes to fix power, and you're ready to fix power. Or did you just lie? Are you saying that you don't know about these things? Then you're not ready to be a leader. And then you want to come again to do what? To tell us again that you didn't know that this is the level of damage or something. So at this point, I'm really disappointed that we're still talking about past administration, and we're still blaming the past administration. So whether it is true or it is false that the past administrations waste money or wasted funds in the power sector, then I think this administration is a disgrace. If it will blame its own failures on the past administration, because you are supposed to chart a new course, you're supposed to have your own plan, you're supposed to have your own goals and objectives, and your strategic implementation plan, most importantly. So I don't think one of your strategic implementation plan is to tell us that it is the past administration's fault that 3 years down the line you cannot provide constant power for Nigeria.
All right, now Toby, straight to you. In my opening statement, I said we don't know where this is coming from, whether it's coming from the fact that Obasanjo is trying to, bring up a new party. We're talking about a coalition. All right, or it's coming from the fact that he has actually backed this administration trying to write open letters. If you can remember that there was an open letter, 13 pages, written to Buhari sometime February. Now, where do you think this statement or this revisit is actually coming from?
Well, these are two adults. I believe they have issues already, pending issues. But whatever it is, you're a leader leading a country. You shouldn't try to paint anybody black or make anybody responsible for your own failures, as it were. I'm not saying this administration has failed, but what I'm saying is whoever is trying to bring up a political party shouldn't be a threat to you if you know what you're doing, if you know your game, if you understand that I'm giving my best, I'm serving my people and all of that. Whatever Obasanjo has said shouldn't make you try to revenge, making a statement to also painting black as well. Instead, what should be on your mind is national development. What should be on your mind should not be how to get back at the person who wrote a letter to you or who is trying to form a party against you, whatever. What should be on your mind majorly should be how can I move this nation forward? National development should be all that is on President Buhari's mind now, not who spent how many $1 million previously in the past.
Okay, now looking at that, Mr. Henry Loda. Now, after Obasanjo ruled for 8 years, right, we had another administration that came. We saw Yar'Adua coming. Unfortunately, he lost, in the battle of life. And then we saw Jonathan taking over the mantle of leadership and, of course, coming back for another election, which he won. Now, if there was an administration, that worked or that served or that led Nigeria after Obasanjo came before this administration, are we saying that the administration utterly did not want to revisit that, or they are not interested in fighting corruption? Because what he's doing now, what President Buhari is doing now is he said he's trying to sanitize the country and fight corruption. I want to take your mind down somewhere. Now, going back to 2008, right? Now, the House of Reps described the $16 billion spent on power project by the Obasanjo administration as a colossal waste. And when you are talking about 2008, it wasn't Buhari that was in leadership, right? Good. Now, the Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project had also, in 2016, called for an investigation into the expenditure. Now, in 2008 wasn't Buhari, but in 2016 was Buhari who was in power. Now we are in 2018 trying to cross over to 2019. Now, why the sudden wake up?
You see, I want to say this before I answer you. I don't care what has been wasted in the past. I don't care where we were yesterday. I think where we are today and where we'll be tomorrow, we should have our same selves to blame for. If you are the leader today, and he has been the leader since 3 years ago, I think you should not spend, because all I've seen in this administration is blame game. All true. And when she was talking, there was something I wanted to add. You see, the funny part is this. If Buhari has fixed power, then these questions wouldn't have even been here in the first place. Do you understand? If this man has not, because all of this is a tussle for 2019. One part trying to make another part look bad so that they will gain favors. Now, if you have developed Nigeria, if you have worked on national development, if you have picked each sector and fixed the issues in those sectors with the little that you are giving, tangible fixes, then whoever is saying anything about your administration will just be talking to the air. Because Nigerians can see, can touch, can understand how tangible your works have been. So nobody can discredit you, and nobody can put and pull down your government or make you look bad. So if you've had a plan from the beginning and you know what you want to do and you have passion to do it, let me say something. I was discussing with a professor in ABU Zaria, and I was disappointed at his position when Buhari said anybody can fall sick and nobody's immune to medical tourism. I asked him a question. I was a medical student in ABU Zaria back then, when Koreans came with containers and fixed ABUCH. The Ahmadu Bello University Teaching Hospital became a 5-star teaching hospital in 1 year. Who did that? An administration that had a plan for the medical sector or the health sector. Now, I said, this administration of Buhari that you are praising so much, and you always find a way to defend everything he does. How many machines did he act in your theaters? How many times have you seen any development in this regime regarding the health sector? How many teaching hospitals were revamped? At least Obasanjo's administration revamped 6 teaching hospitals in this country to highest standard in the country so far, and the highest standard we have ever had from the 6 geopolitical zones. He didn't put all of them in the north. He didn't put all of them in the south. He picked one teaching hospital in each of the 6 geopolitical zones and fixed them. What is this administration doing regarding power? What have they added? Okay, they inherited a disbandled PHCN into TCN and Discourse and Discourse. And the Discourse and the Discourse are privatized. Now, generation of power is no more in the hands of the government. But if you want to take it back, you can reverse the process. We've seen that done before. Privatization is a process that can be reversed if it is done wrongly. We've seen it a couple of times, even with Transcorp. So the question we're asking is, if really you had a plan and you really had Nigeria in mind, there's no point for all the questions that Obasanjo's letter will have raised. His letter will have been disbanded. In fact, nobody would have been talking about it, because we would have seen development and would have said, oh, nice. Whatever this old man is talking is gibberish. He's just blabbing, because we have seen a leader that has done work, but we have not seen the work.
All right, now pause there.
That's the problem.
In continuation to the speech he was giving after this, he now said that no roads have been repaired in the country after his days at the Petroleum Trust Fund. Now, we are still talking about the blame game. Now, he said ever since he left the Petroleum Trust Fund, no road in Nigeria have been fixed.
That is a huge lie.
I don't know how possible that is. Toby, I would want you to react to this.
That's a huge lie. Oh.
Now, if from the time he left Petroleum Trust Fund, we don't have access roads. How have we been managing
Maybe we're
in this country?
Horses and camels.
So I would want you to, react to this.
That is obviously not true, because when he came into power like 2-3 years ago. Before then, up until his election, when he was elected into power, roads were still being made. So saying that since he left Petroleum Trust Fund till now, roads are not being made, it's not right. Like what you said, it's just all about the blame game. I'm trying to paint myself white because of 2019 that is coming, so that people and I think at this point Nigerians are not ignorant of this anymore. Nigerians know what's happening. So whether or not he says someone embezzled money or whatever, Nigerians are aware already of the fact that it's because of the election all this power tussle and whitewashing is coming out. What I feel he should have focused on from the beginning, if you know that really what you're here for is to advance the country, you should have had, even if it's one thing you can fix, come fix, let everybody see that you have fixed it. Don't start promoting what someone didn't do right, or whether or not he stole the money, but it has passed. Obasanjo's government has passed. We are in his own administration. Okay, so what have you done? You that did not embezzle the money. So saying since he left PTF, since he left PTF or whatever, roads haven't been done, that's not true.
Now, let us do a proper analysis or evaluation of these past administrations. Now, Obasanjo ruled us for 8 years. Now, what are the tangible things we think, he was able to do for Nigeria?
Okay.
Let's start from, because he brought us back to democratic setup. So let's start from him.
We're coming in from a military era where Nigeria's image has been damaged by successive military regimes, both internationally and nationally. And Obasanjo came from the prison to become our president in 1999. One of the very good qualities of a good leader is, first of all, to have a goal, to have a plan, to have a desire and a passion to achieve these goals. The second most important character is to know who and who can help you achieve those goals. If you don't know who to put where, if you don't put round pegs in round holes, you're going to run into problems even if you have good intentions. So knowing who to work with and having the courage and the will to insist that it has to be like this, they are very important. The Buhari administration cannot in any way compare itself with the Obasanjo administration. We did not see 2-3 months of waiting before ministers are appointed when Obasanjo came into power in 1999. He acted swiftly and put people in positions. He did not use politicians. He went to the World Bank and looked for Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala and said, I need you to come and fix the economy and help us with all these debts we're gathering. He decided that we need to fight corruption, and he created an Economic Financial Crimes Commission, an ICPC. Then he asked for somebody who is dogged, and he got a Nuhu Ribadu, and they put him in place. And since Nuhu Ribadu left that office up to now, you will agree with me that EFCC has been nothing but a toothless bulldog. Because during Nuhu Ribadu's days, we saw the high and mighty dragged on the floor. We saw how this man was fearless in carrying out his activities, even though everybody condemned it, whatever. But that's the kind of hand that Nigerians need, because of the kind of thieves we have, who can bribe everybody in every court.
Now, are you in that line saying that the fight against corruption
is
within Obasanjo's regime?
Since Nuhu Ribadu left that place when Goodluck came, they sent him to NIPS and found a way to kick him out. Since he left that place, EFCC has been rubbish. There's nothing going on in EFCC. Because can you tell me who they have either indicted, arrested, charged to court, prosecuted, and jailed? Since that time, only few unlawful, politically motivated detentions.
No, that actually has been done by the police.
Well, but
in this administration, we have seen the
EFCC.
police doing more of the corruption fight.
But anyway, let's not be distracted. I'm talking about the gains of that Obasanjo administration. The man found Dora, of blessed memory, Akunyili, who was not a politician, who was busy doing her job honestly. And I asked for it. I need somebody who really, really has passion to fix NAFDAC. And they brought Dora, and he gave her the job. And Dora, of course, you and I are in this country, so we know what she did. All right? So the man had key people in key places who came, even the Charles Soludo and the rest, they were all prodigies of the Obasanjo administration. Consolidation of the Nigerian banking sector. Now banks are multi-billion dollars rich. All right? So we're talking about fighting corruption. We're talking about the health sector. Need I mention the things he did, and then the roads, and the entire country was put back in shape by the Obasanjo administration.
Good. Now,
the only crime,
I would want you to
crime,
talk more about the educational sector. If it was able to make a credible impact in the educational sector.
You see, I would say that successful administrations have not done as much as the Obasanjo administration has done for the education sector. I told you, this man inherited a military-run country. Every sector was messed up before he came. And so when he came, I was in school then. Obasanjo brought GSM to Nigeria, if you can remember. And that changed the whole scene, the way business is run in this country, the way, how easy it is now to get things done. Now, talking about education, I wouldn't say that we're where we are because we need a lot of educational reform in this country. And especially, one of the things I intend to do when I become a senator is to raise an education trust fund, primary education, because we're neglecting primary education. When they talk about education, everybody's looking at the tertiary institutions. Everybody wants to fix the tertiary institution. For what purpose? And then you carry billions of naira and you are giving the tertiary institution. Meanwhile, the primary schools in all the villages, and most of Nigeria is rural, there are no floors. Most times children sit on the floor. There are no ceilings. When it rains, they just run around the place and play in the rain. And then we don't have a direction. What we are learning in school is not a reflection of the kind of economy that we have. People have to start going through courses. People have to start going through seminars so that they can fit into their jobs. So what did you do in school? What did you learn in school? If we are not teaching what we need to know, or what will help us grow. Imagine if somebody spends 4 years in school learning how to cast news or learning how to use a camera. Or somebody spent 4 years in school learning entrepreneurship. If this person starts a business, he doesn't need to start looking for courses online before he aligns himself, because they probably would have put those things in him. So we're not learning what we need to learn so that we can help ourselves and move the economy of the nation forward.
All right, you hold it there. We'll come back to that. We'll go for a short break now. And when we come back, we'll move straight into the details of this. Please stay with us.
Welcome to National Discourse.
Current affairs.
We must not extricate anybody from corruption. If any one of them is found wanting, the due course and the law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different from the last one in the fight against corruption.
We need to really task our leaders, who are the religious leaders, from the emir, from the bishops, from whoever they can.
Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in house like young nakama. They are like agberu in the markets.
Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
What happened in Benue might be political. It still has another tone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history.
It's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria. Okay. And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background. And today, we are here in TSTV. And that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse, weekdays on NCTV.
We see beyond the news. We are concerned about how it affects you, bringing updates on the economy, government and politics, sports and so much more. We are committed to informing, educating and entertaining you. We are NCTV, Nigeria Central Television. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube. NCTV, strictly Nigeria.
Welcome to National Discourse.
Current affairs.
We must not extricate anybody from corruption. If any one of them is found wanting, the due course and the law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different from the last one in the fight against corruption.
We need to really task our leaders, who are the religious leaders, from the emir, from the bishops, from whoever they can.
Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in house like Nakama. They are like Agberu in the markets.
Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
What happened in Benue might be political. It still has an undertone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history.
It's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria. Okay. And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background. And today, we are here in TSTV. And that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse, weekdays on NCTV.
All right, so we'll come back from that short break. Straight on, we were still looking at the Obasanjo's regime and what he was able to do for our country, Nigeria. Moving on to Jonathan's administration, I don't know. We have seen Obasanjo and what he did. Now, Toby, Jonathan's administration. What is the notable thing, or what are the notable things he was able to do for Nigeria? Because we're still looking at where is this blame game coming from, really.
Okay, for Jonathan's administration, what I find with Jonathan's administration is that he's a man who really had good intentions. Maybe the people he put in charge of those offices probably were the wrong choices. But like he said, putting the round peg in the round hole is very important when doing these things, even if you have good intentions. Putting competent hands really is what's important. So with Jonathan's administration, what I see is he had good intentions, but those intentions weren't really, he probably couldn't nail his intentions really. Unlike in Obasanjo's regime where we had Dora Akunyili, handling NAFDAC, Nuhu Ribadu handling EFCC. For Jonathan's administration was where we started having issues with people like Dezani handling the oil sector, and then
now
we're having
can we
issues.
Look at the economy? Can we do a little comparison? The economy in Jonathan's administration, and then look at what we have now. Can we just have a sharp contrast?
Well, let me check. Okay, it was during towards the end, I think, of Jonathan's administration was when we had having this dollar issue. Was when we started having this dollar, and that was the beginning of serious recession in this country. But comparing it to now, I think now it's worse, because that's why Nigerians are complaining. We've not seen change, or we've not seen change. I think it's worse now. I mean, in terms of the economy, than Jonathan's administration. But I won't blame that on the current administration.
Okay.
Right now.
That blame goes to who?
Well, it's a process. Whatever.
This administration has the way of throwing shades.
I understand.
At different administrations that are passed. Right? We are looking at the blame games that we have experienced, or the ones we can bring up ourselves.
Yeah.
Now, we are looking at administrations that have come and gone.
Yeah.
What are the socioeconomic indices they were able to, raise up here in Nigeria?
So she mentioned something that I think I should respond to. She said, you can't blame it on the present administration. Okay, well, I think there are parts of the blame, or a major part of the blame.
That's exactly. My question is, if you don't blame it on this administration, where are you throwing the blame on?
You see, when the Buhari administration came to power, they made so much noise that their body language suggested that they were going to be rude, and a lot of people were scared. A lot of foreign direct investments were scared, and a lot of people left Nigeria. There was a lot of dollar drain off this land, and that is part of the reason why the dollar went up and the naira value went down. Secondly, you made yourself Minister of Petroleum as the president, and you are sick, and you've not been around for too long to even know what is going on in the oil sector. That alone is recipe for disaster in the oil sector, which is the mainstay of the Nigerian economy. So, to start with, on that part, you can't say the past administration went as low as $30 per barrel. Where are we today? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So, you can't continue to blame the fact that there was an international crash in dollar in crude price. You can't continue to blame it on that, and you can't continue to blame it on the past administration's failures. Yes, every regime has their failures. And in as much as we're trying to say that the Obasanjo administration is a better administration than this administration, it doesn't mean that the Obasanjo administration has not, a part in the crime. They have their own crime, and the power sector crime is not a lie, even if the figures portrayed are not true. Whatever it is, we know that money was misappropriated in the NEEP project. They have a power project, they call it NEEP. Now, what we're trying to say is that your decisions, your economic policy, they have an economic recovery and growth plan that 1% of it has not been implemented yet. 1%. And their budget for last year, only 15% was implemented. So what are you saying? That just shows you that there's gross incompetence in leadership. They don't know how to set goals. They don't know how to prepare budgets. And most of the budget we heard were just copy and paste. That there are things in the budget that even the president is not aware. And then you took it to the National Assembly, and then later there was some drama. The budget is missing, the budget is found, the budget is missing, and is found again. And why? Are you trying to change figures because somebody has brought everything to bear and to say, okay, something is wrong here, something is wrong here, and then you stole it back to correct it and put it back to avoid shame or what? So what are we trying to say? That these people don't really know what they are doing. For you to take months before you appoint ministers, it just shows how unprepared you are to lead. And secondly, you put people who are not prepared to lead. People who are tired, people who are old, people whose methods are outdated, people who are not awake to the current realities of what progress and development is in the world. Then how do you expect them to be able to live up to what is required for leadership in Nigeria today, or in the world of today?
Right, Mr. Henry Lodam, let's look at security, right? We've been trying to look
Don't
at...
even go there, because that's a major failure in this administration.
Do you understand? Now, if we are still going by blame game, like we said, we're trying to analyze what our past administrations have done. I really don't want to say to warrant the blame game, but I'm saying let's look at them critically, administration per administration. Now, we are in security. Where are we? What happened in the past? Now, what we are experiencing now, is this still part of what the past administrations have done? Is this the part of what they failed to do?
Security is a social problem. As time goes by, things change. The social dynamism going on. The kind of society that President Goodluck Jonathan back in the day had is different from the kind of society that Obasanjo had, and is different from the kind of society that Buhari is having. For example, what Goodluck tackled with back in the day was Niger Delta militants, right? Then right now, the past administration had battled Boko Haram so much, and then today we're seeing Fulani headsmen taking the lead, killing and maiming people everywhere in the country. And my concern has been that there is nothing really, there's no effort, there's no tangible effort done to curb this menace. Why am I saying this? You see, you would send the IG of police to a place, and then he would decide to go to another place and sleep, and then you would not do anything about it. It just tells us that you're not interested in doing anything about it. Because people are dying, your citizens are dying. People that you swore an oath to protect their lives and their properties are dying. That is, you are going contrary to the constitution you swore to abide by. You are an unconstitutional president. You don't have respect for your country, you don't have respect for human life, and you don't have respect, and you could open your mouth and say, well, they have killed their cows. That means you're justifying the killings, because as far as you're concerned, it's a revenge for the cattle that the farmers killed. Is that a way to solve a problem, a social crisis? Is that your solution to the problem? That, okay, let them continue to kill, since these ones too killed their cattle? So when you look at that, you begin to wonder whether there's any security anywhere. Maybe people should, just like Tiwa Danjuma said, arm themselves and prepare themselves against attacks to defend yourself. If not, the government is not ready to defend you. You will die and go away because nobody is there to protect you. The IG of police is not interested in doing that. Nobody is interested in doing that. So should we continue to die? So when you look at security, you can't compare them. There was a deliberate fight against the Niger Delta militants. There was a deliberate fight against MEND and all those people. And then we had the Biafra agitations, and other people have been trying to dialogue with these people to solve the problem. What did you do? You sent soldiers to go and kill them in operations Scorpion Dance, or what do you call it?
Python Dance.
Python Dance. You sent people to go and kill them, to instill fear in them so that they will shut up. I think you have buried a time bomb. Because the reason why they are quiet today is not because they believe in one Nigeria. They're quiet today because they are scared of what you can do to them, because they know how brutal you are. What happens to the next administration if you're not the one there? It's a problem buried and it's not solved.
Now, talking about if he's not the one there, we are looking at next year's election, right? And our president is coming back again, to contest for election. Now, provincial,
unfortunately,
of course, that is your own concern, though. Now, because some persons are somewhere, clapping and cheering him up, and
psychophants.
If I take you back, or take your mind back, by the time he came out to announce officially that he was coming out, he said he did not intend to. There are some persons, he has been under pressure from Nigerians, well-meaning Nigerians, from him to come up. It all depends on your interpretation, that you want to give it. But this is what he told us, that he's under so much pressure to come out, for this position. Now, peradventure, the pressure, it becomes realistic, and he becomes a president again next year. What is the hope we have for Nigeria?
I pray it doesn't happen. And I doubt if it would happen, because from all quarters, north, south, east, west, a lot of people are disappointed.
Do you trust our electoral process?
Well, to an extent, I would say I trust like electoral process. But what you asked is what hope do we have?
What hope do we have, like, as a country?
As a country. Now, I would like to say this. The solution to Nigeria's problem is not going to be solved in the next 4 years, whether or not a new leader comes into power. If Buhari doesn't win the election next year, and somebody else who probably, maybe one of these other contestants, maybe Fela Jotoye, all of those, even if they come to power, Nigeria's problem will not still be solved yet.
What do you think is a solution to Nigeria's challenge?
That's where I'm going to. And that is where I'm going to come. Previously, I said I work for a social organization that's into political education of young people. I believe that if, right from cradle, like we were discussing earlier, right from you're young, maybe in secondary school, you are informed, you are taught. You are taught about patriotism, you are taught about integrity, you are taught about self-reliance. You know, when you eventually get there, like he was talking about security and insecurity, it means you don't love your people and all of that. If a 15-year-old child, for instance, has been groomed, you know, that when you become, what it takes to be a national leader, you have to be patriotic, you have to love your people and all of it, grows with that mentality, and he becomes the president eventually at about 50 years or so, or even 45. You know, he's going there with a different mindset. He's going there, he's not the kind of leader who will get there and does, even if he's not the president, even if he's just the IGP or something, but you have been groomed, you have been taught. That's where Nigeria's hope lies. Not someone who gets to an office informed, who knows properly about what this office is about, what it really means to be a leader. Most of the people that are in this office, they don't know what it takes really. They don't even know what it means to be a patriot. They don't know what it means to love your country. And that's what we're about in the organization I work for. You know, we're about teaching young people, you want to be a president in future, you want to be a commissioner. Number one, know that it's not a dirty game. It's not for bad people. Number two, also know that when you get there are certain things expected from you. You're going there not for yourself. That's why we teach self-reliance. You already have what you do, but you're going there because you feel like you need to serve the people. You're going there with a servanthood mentality. So when you get there, what has failed in past admission is not your thinking. All that fuels your thought is, how do I fix this? That's where Nigeria's hope really lies. Not in who comes in, who wins 2019 election. There will still be problems. Okay, if a good person comes in as a president in 2019, whether Buhari or not, whoever comes with a good intention and wins the election, what of the other subs?
All right, please hold on there. We have a call. Maybe we'll just attend to this call. Hello?
Hello.
Good morning to you. Please, your name and where you're calling from, please.
This is Raphael.
Raphael from where? From Lagos. All right, please go ahead.
Problem of Nigeria is selfishness. And to stand on their wall. Just like the president, everybody respects president, everybody respects president as it is properly. Everybody respects the man. But when it comes to national affairs or whatever they will want this to happen. Why is it like that? Why can't you respect our own president? What are people say like about that? Just like a draft,
Oh, we lost that call. You have to respond to this.
I am a senatorial candidate vying for office for a Plateau North Senatorial District. And I can tell him for a fact that we do not have a democracy in Nigeria yet. I will tell you this for a fact. If you're not aware, we do not have a democracy in Nigeria.
If we don't have a democracy, why are you vying for a senatorial position?
Why am I saying that? What we have is a fraud. We have a centralized government where everything is in the center. We have a false federalism where every resource is gathered in the middle, in the center. States' budgets come from Abuja, whether you like it or not. Local governments come from Abuja, whether you like it or not. Everything that happens in Nigeria, if not, the IG of police cannot just withdraw a senator's security because he feels like. It's unconstitutional because these senators have the right to be secured constitutionally. Why would you sit down and just withdraw a senator's? He has not been charged with any crime yet. He has not been found guilty yet. But you withdrew his security.
Right.
Because the president told you to do that.
Please can you hold on? Let's pick this call. Hello? Hello, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Please, can you just turn down the volume of your radio set, or TV set, sorry? I'm still, getting some noise at the background. All right, please, your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Ojo Ademola.
Ojo Ademola, from where, sir?
Yes, from Abuja.
From Abuja, okay. Go ahead.
Yes. What your senator aspirant is saying is true. There is nothing comparable with the present administration and the whole association. Papa Peter do a good job. You also do a good job. Ask yourself about a woman that going to marry. What happens when the director was in the government? Right here, back. People are go now. Let people are making their children out of school. They cannot pay. Nobody can feed. Nobody can do anything. So this is the best part of the so far. And we are not expecting it to implement. I bet you, government is so of the people that died for nothing. The blood of citizens of Nigeria is just went like a rain in Nigeria this session. Yeah, God is going to fight in 2019. Thank you, God bless you.
Thank you very much. You stay blessed here in Abuja. Could you please react to this?
I didn't hear him.
He said what he's been saying is right? That you can't compare this administration with Obasanjo's administration and Jonathan's administration. From all indications, going strictly on economy, that things are worse now. That people are withdrawing their children from school, and because they can't afford to pay school fees, and then things are expensive in the market. Now we are still looking at this administration against this administration. Like we normally say, if you're living in a glass house, don't pick a stone to throw. Now what our president did was to start throwing stones, and it's been bringing up reactions from Nigerians.
And reactions.
Yes, it's been like, I throw this stone, I throw one stone, you have several stones being thrown at me or something. So I would want you to react to this, in as much as it's still what we are still talking about. Like, you can't compare this with that. That is better, or this is better. But the truth is, you still have so many Nigerians still telling you that I prefer this administration because they have done this, they have done that. And then looking at it again, we have privy to rights. We all have the right to express our freedom of thought and conscience, our opinions, what we want to say. So coming back to you again, strictly looking at the economy, and just trying to let you react to what the last class said. Now, looking at the market sector and then looking at the school sector, which one would you think? Which of the administrations, we've had 3 in the past, which of the administrations do you think we can still vie for?
Well, from what from information I've been exposed to, I think that I will still go with the Obasanjo administration, though I was still much younger then. But comparing, I'm making my own conclusions based on at least what I can see now. I think I would still prefer the Obasanjo administration because that, like he said earlier, he transitioned from a military era straight to a democratic era, and when there wasn't much on ground when he came into power, and then he was able to set up structure, basically. Now, what the other administrations were left to do was they were to just build on the structure that Obasanjo had. So, comparing the magnitude of work each of them did, I think Obasanjo, and if you even ask the average man on the street this same question, it doesn't matter if the person has previous ideas of what Obasanjo did or what Goodluck or what Buhari is doing, they will all tell you things are worse now. Because
it's staring at them on the
because
face.
it's like it's more realistic now. They can feel it on their skin. Like things are worse now, and I really want, like I said, I really don't want to blame anybody for this.
Okay, now straight on, we've tried to do some comparisons, and of course you've had people calling to give their input. Now the same Obasanjo we are talking about now, that both of you have given kudos to now, and of course some people are still reacting to it. Now he has certain coalition that he's bringing up. We really have not seen who is coming out, but the truth is we've seen past governors. Fayemi is trying to come back to Ekiti State. He was once a governor there. So looking at next year's election, the coalition, that we have not seen a candidate, or we've not heard that this candidate is the candidate coming out from this coalition. Now, what if it happens that President Obasanjo
comes back,
suddenly wakes up and says, I want to vie for this position?
No, he doesn't have the right to do that, because constitutionally he has served Nigeria for 2 tenures, and that's the limit constitutionally for every citizen. He has served as president for 2 tenures already.
He doesn't have to do with
to bend the constitution to grant him permission or the right to go for a 3rd term.
Good.
And that was one of the failures of his administration, for him to feel he wants to prolong. But it's an African thing.
No.
Every African leader wants to stay in power.
Hold on. We saw Rochas Okorocha trying to, because he knows he has constitutional limit, not to come back again in Imo State. If he had his way, he would have done that. But indirectly, he's trying to come back using his son-in-law. That's exactly where I'm going to.
Okay, so like Obasanjo replicating
trying
himself.
to, yes. I'm not saying him coming. I'm saying waking up to say, I'm coming back. Like having someone, not Godfatherism, someone that is his, bringing the person up to Nigeria.
But of course,
that will know that the person, is the one at the back.
But that's what the movement is all about.
Whoever comes out from coalition group is still his.
It's a puppet.
So if such thing happens, most times we see that people install people in positions of authority, and by the time these people get there, we saw it happen in Buhari. After all, Obasanjo was the one singing the praises of Buhari before he got there in power. Obasanjo was instrumental to bringing Jonathan in power and all that. Yeah. Now, by the time these people get in there, the godfatherism factor, cuts off. Now, if we have, okay.
You see, basically, in as much as we're clapping for the Obasanjo administration, we're actually doing a comparison. That's where we are. We're comparing the 2 administrations. We're not saying that the Obasanjo style is the best for this country.
Now, my question is, what if he resurfaces again this year against next year?
Yeah, but of course, he's an old politician. He will always find a way to live inside one politician or the other to do his biddings.
Now,
he would always like to do that.
Okay.
But if he has a candidate and he brings this candidate forward, and the candidate becomes president, you and I know that it's just a matter of time.
Sorry, can we just pick this call? Hello. Good morning to you. Please, your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Victor, calling you from Kaduna.
Victor from Kaduna. Please, can you just turn down the volume of your TV set?
Yeah, I've done that.
All right.
Already.
All right.
It is just like the guy in white is speaking of the reality.
Okay.
The program of APC, they are just deceivers. They deceive Nigerians. You understand? So when you talk about Obasanjo is not itself, but the situation is put on ground. Yeah, everybody is trying to speak on top, but they're actually wrong people. You understand? So what we are saying now is, okay, what is the leader? The leader is to make people rejoice. So many people feel happy father. But when people don't feel, it's just like a father at home, and children don't feel the part of the father. It's not a father. So if we're looking at our current president, what is feeling his president? What is feeling him? Nobody is feeling him. Nigeria is tired of him. That is just the fact. We need a leader. We need good people. People that have God fearing. I feel like I would just encourage Nigeria to do it. Just to come out of the world in the back of this war. Because all these politicians, they are there to just look money for themselves and their family. Talk about school. They are doing school feeding. And you are feeding child in the school and they are not able to pay the school fees. God bless you, sister and brothers there.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Stay blessed in Kaduna. This happened to be probably maybe the last call we'll take. We are still saying the same thing. But the question I actually want to put across to two of you is, now, in 2019 election, and we have our three past leaders that are alive, right? Because we actually had 4, but we lost Yaradua in the battle. That we have, by the time you are going to the polling unit, and you are seeing Obasanjo's name, you are seeing Jonathan's name, and then you are seeing Buhari's name. Honestly speaking, who would you want to come back again?
She should go first.
Well, I'm trying to think, but okay, I think I'll go for Jonathan for one reason. If Jonathan is going to come back with his good intentions and put competent people in his cabinet, like competent people, not people who are going there with the mindset to embezzle money. Competent hands, the kind of competent hands that Obasanjo had. They know who Ribadu, the Dora, Kunili. I think I'll go for Jonathan.
Okay, now.
Well, I wouldn't go for a Buhari because, number one, he listens to nobody.
Okay.
He is God for himself. He has a strong northern agenda, so he's not a true Nigerian. He didn't unite Nigeria in his tenure. He rather, widened the gap between the north, the south, the east, and the west. So I wouldn't go for a Buhari for that. And I wouldn't go for a Buhari because he doesn't have the solution to the economy of Nigeria. He doesn't know what is going on in Nigeria's economy. He doesn't even know what kind of economy we run. So he doesn't have the solution to the economic problems of Nigeria. Even though we are grateful for the little diversification we've seen when he used suffering to make people go back to the farm and all that, which is a good thing.
Is the farm working out? Because people go to the farm and they are being killed by the herdsmen.
I say suffering because it's not as if you brought in some kind of, agricultural policies, like you brought machines for mechanized farming and all that, or you taught us, crossbreeding and genetic technology in agriculture. It's not as if you brought something special to the table, but people just, out of sheer suffering, decided to, listen and then move to the other. It's not as if you actually subsidize fertilizer, or you made it available to the farmers.
Please just
so I wouldn't go with
because we just
then I wouldn't go with a good luck because a good luck is weak. He's a weak person. He doesn't have the strong will to face somebody and say you're wrong and we will not go together. He's a man of peace. He would rather have a better, good relationship with you than to have a problem fixed.
Okay.
So a good leader should be able to look at somebody and say you are wrong, or sack somebody who is your friend.
Obasanjo, right?
No. That's what I'm saying. Just listen to me.
No, we don't. We really don't have time. We just have
and
few
I'm not going with
left.
Obasanjo because Obasanjo is a master schemer and he has his own errors. But we have people who have fresh ideas for the now. People who are
when you have
for the
Obasanjo, you have Goodluck Jonathan, and you have Buhari.
I'll go for one.
Good.
If they are the only ones, but thank God they are not the only ones. We have many political parties in Nigeria, and they are better and more credible candidates in other political parties that I can vote for.
All right, that is that for National Discuss today. We tried looking at evaluating the past administrations in view with the video that we saw Buhari speaking at National Assembly, talking about the $16 billion that was embezzled during Obasanjo's regime that was meant for power. No, I don't know when the blame games are going to stop, but truly, this is not good for democracy. That is what we've been looking at, trying to look at the blame games and all that. That is actually where we're going to start today. We'll continue with this discussion tomorrow. See you same time, same station. So please stay with us.